academically, was really ready to quit. And that became a major concern for us, right? And so I want you to take a moment and in the chat, just if you will, just drop what makes learners stay or leave when the classroom goes digital. I'd like to just maybe hear a few of you just share some things or read a few things that makes individuals or students go stay or leave, if you will, when classes start to go digital or start to go online. I know there's seems to be mixed emotions about it. Uh, Someone says passive slime. If they feel invisible and may leave, that is definitely true. With no attempt, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And that is exactly what we tend to experience on a constant basis here, even in the United States. So here we want to talk about how imperative digital belonging actually is. And when we talk about belonging, especially in an online space, we're not just talking about engagement, but we're talking about something deeper. We're talking about the sense that I matter here, that I'm seen here, that I belong here. And so belonging equals being seen, it equals being heard, it equals being valued. And belonging goes deeper than just the engagement. When the student feels those three things, then they persist, they complete their certifications, and they stay in the career path because they feel like what? Like they belong, right? And so here, it says that there are some barriers to online career and technical education in remote career and technical education, or CTE, and online environments. Students face unique barriers. They don't always feel visible in a sea of black boxes. Their skills are based upon learning that and sometimes they can feel disconnected without that community. And career paths often feel like silos when they journey alone, rather than when they have a collective mission. And here it says that research is clear that belonging is directly tied to persistence. When students feel that they belong, they don't just complete the class, they persist toward the certification and ultimately the career path, right? Here is just a reflection. I want to pause and I want you to, again, in the chat, maybe describe. You don't have to scan the QR code. We'll just work with the chat. I don't want to mess up any technology that I have going on right now because I had a tough time getting in. So if you would just drop in the chat, if you had to describe what belonging looks like for your learner, what would you say? What would you say? What would belonging look like for the learner who's in your classroom? You can just drop that phrase in the chat just like you did before. What does visibility look like? Encouragement? Any of those things that actually happens. What does belonging look like for your learner? Being seen, that's right. Feeling safe, having structure, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Encouragement, peer connection, recognition, purpose. All of those things are things that helps the learner to feel like they belong, right? Positive feedback, absolutely. Positive feedback is major. It is definitely major, definitely major. Anything else? Individualized encouragement and feedback, absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely. Participation, being able to participate online sometimes can, again, put them in a space where they don't feel like participating, or they don't have that community or culture around them that they're accustomed to in the classroom. And so then their participation begins to lack or slag, all right? So here I want to introduce to you, this is where VitalBridge comes in. And VitalBridge is more than just a model. It's a bridge, like literally, and it syncs your LMS, your student information systems, and your certification portals, and it lays an AI powered overlay across them. That overlay then creates real-time dashboards for them, nudges, and it supports to connect the dots between the student, the teacher, the administrators, and the employers. So what is VitalBridge? VitalBridge, it is a scalable AI assistance overlay that again syncs your LMS, and your certification ports. It connects the student, the teacher, the admin, and the employer into one loop, and not just to get data, but it's designed to support for belonging and for persistence. That is exactly what it is. So I want to take a moment and I want to talk about the four anchors of VitalBridge. So the four anchors in VitalBridge are data integration. So it pulls together what was once siloed, right? Then it has AI-driven support. So it gives nudges, just-in-time feedback, and it provides a personalized dashboard, right? Not only does it do that, but then it provides digital belonging strategies where it provides peer networking and gamified progress badges, and it gives visible recognition, and all of these things helps to personalize what the student, the teacher, the employer, and the administrator is actually looping together in a feedback loop. And so then the career and credential pipeline, it's linking employers directly into the student experience, and it provides early employability recognition and connection. So I want to show you what this loop actually looks like in real time. Well, not in real time, but on this form here. So I won't detail the internal process, but this loop does demonstrate the outcomes that VitalBridge guarantees. So I'll detail what the flow actually looks like. So the data flows into VitalBridge. That's your LMS and your SIS. It flows into VitalBridge, which is the AI structured surface, right? And so then it provides the risk and the opportunities. Stakeholders, they act and they provide feedback and nudging support. It provides belonging. The belonging improves, the persistence improves, and the loop repeats measurable over time. So when a student like Maya that I talked about in the beginning, or any student in your class feels invisible, then VitalBridge will help that teacher see that individual, see that student risk factors in real time. She'll see it in real time. And when that student starts to doubt his or her purpose, then the employer's dashboard will then show her how her progress is linked directly to a career path. And we'll see that just a little bit later. And then when the student, like Maya, hesitates to persist, there's an AI nudge that reminds her of who she is, that you're seen, that you're progressing, that your path matters. It also provides, like I said, gamifying badges for them as they continue to progress, so that they see that they are actually achieving as they continue to do their lessons, even though they're online. So here it is. So we're going to dig into the practical side and how do we design for belonging in our digital space. There are 4 principles that we use to do this, and that is that we make the learner visible. I think someone said that in the chat. The dashboards aren't just for data, but they're mirrors. They let the students see themselves succeeding in their lessons and their progress. Then it creates connected pathways. It designs collaborative CTE projects where the students depend on one another's roles just like they would in the workforce. It also has the personalized presence. So it uses the AI nudges and the instructor check-ins. It uses the visible recognition badges to show the student that I see you and that your progress matters and that you're making progress. So it gives this real world mentorship, and it brings the employer into the conversation early so that the students are able, they persist when they see like an end game and an end goal in mind. It's kind of like us, you know, when we know that there is an outcome or an end to something that we're working on, it will cause us to continue. So here is an example. If you imagine a welding student that logs in to complete a virtual assignment, not only does he be able to see his progress badge for safety mastery, but he also sees a note from his instructor that says, you're 75% of the way to certification, keep pushing. And those little nuggets from you and I as educators are major for students, especially when they are, dare I say, lost in the remote or online learning world when they're not able to be face to face with us. And then right below that, there is a local employer that will post a quick video explaining why safety credentials are the first thing that they look for when they're hiring. And that part of the VitalBridge loop is what keeps belonging with a purpose. So now I want you in the chat, I'm talking about belonging. I want you to take like 2 minutes and maybe jot down one belonging building feature that you could implement tomorrow in your program. So in your program with your students, what would be one belonging feature? Maybe it's a recognition system, or maybe it's a peer group, or maybe it's an employer touch point, various things that you could actually integrate. Just one simple thing tomorrow when you're meeting with your students, if you could just add that to the chat, that you could think of that could help make your students feel like they belong to the lesson, they belong to the class, that what they're doing is a part of getting them somewhere, that they're not just completing a lesson, that they're not just checking off, if you will, checkpoints, but something that actually draws them in and makes them feel like they are a part of a class. But the same thing that would happen if they were in your classroom, what would be some type of belonging feature that you could actually implement? Okay, setting up the progress badges. The progress badges are major, Linda. With seeing students utilize those gamifying progress badges, it really makes them feel like, I think it takes me back to when I was a young child in school, and you knew if you did all of your work, you know, you would get to go to the treasure box and pick out some type of trinket or get some type of candy or fruit, or just recognition is major, right? What is it? I thought the video of the employer gives them, yes, it does give them real world advice. That's definitely a great idea. It is actually a great idea because, again, one of the things that I found, and not to get too off track, one of the things that I found was that students were gaining or attaining their certifications in the various career fields, but they were unable to see how to link it to a career path or how it tied in to real world. They were kind of equating the certification to just a high school diploma, right? Not knowing that it could be something that could potentially connect them to a job. And so having that loop where the employer is able to actually share with them tangible things that they're looking for that the student has now completed or mastered, then makes that student what definitely feel like he or she belongs, and that what they're doing does have a goal in mind, and that it will possibly lead them to a career path beyond just having to, start with a job that's just, I need to make money, but I can actually go into a field that I'm really looking to go into, and that my educational journey has not been in vain, right? And so that's one of the things that's really major. So we talk about persistence isn't just accidental; it's actually designed. And dashboards make persistent visible, right? Um, I wonder, okay, let's look. I wonder if students would spot AI nudging and whether it would feel authentic. Well, one of the things that happens with the nudging is that, and maybe my next slide, one of the things that happens with the nudging is that the teacher also gets an alert, right? The teacher also, I'm just going to go to the teacher also gets an alert to let her know how the student is progressing in the class. So if that student has fallen behind, if you see there where it says student failing behind, this is a simulation of what a teacher's dashboard would be like, then she too, not only with just nudge from the AI, from the not just the AI nudge, but the teacher then gets to provide, gets to provide information, gets to provide for them um, some feedback, some encouragement, right? To ask if there are any questions, to ask if there are some things that they can assist with to help them get back on track or stay on track or start, where they are and continue on. So it's VitalBridge kind of brings this AI and this human component together, where it marries them together. And though each individual has its own dashboard, because they are linked together with the AI overlay, then everyone is actually able to see what's happening and to be able to encourage this student to finish strong. Here is where you are. So this student here, if you look at the example there, 60% completion, right? So 3 out of the credentials have already been earned. They're studying information technology. Here are some badges that they've already earned: the Java programming, networking fundamentals, and cybersecurity basics, right? And so here, this then helps them to see in their mind, okay, information technology, I could possibly go into cybersecurity. I could go into networking, I could go into programming, whereas they may or may not have been looking for that. Or they could go into, as you see, medical terminology. They could go into various career paths with what they're doing. And so that all of those things kind of marry together to help them continue along, not just with the AI nudge of the authentication of it, but they get the feedback from the teacher. They get the feedback again from the employer, because the employer has a direct look at the student's readiness, right? To see where they are, what they're progressing in, what they've already attained, in terms of their badges. The teacher gets to see the risk alerts, and this is an easy way for her to provide feedback to them, or remediation, or to provide simulations for them if they seem to be stuck in some place that they're actually in. So here we are. why does this matter for career and technical education? So career and technical education needs VitalBridge because CTE is just that. It is hands-on, and students aren't just learning the content, but they're mastering competencies, right? That translate to certifications and to careers. The hands-on pathways are needed for persistence, right? And then VitalBridge is able to connect belongings to the TEKS alignments, to the state standards, or that they may have, the industry-based certification readiness, and the career outcomes. So the students are able to see the line from today's efforts to tomorrow's paycheck, right? So it's aligning, belonging, building strategies. It's also supporting virtual and hybrid work-based learning opportunities, and then it's giving the students visibility into how today's persistence connects to tomorrow's paycheck. And I know here in the States, and it's probably everywhere, where technology is now, because our students have so much access to it, and it's uh, things are so quick, if you will, they seem to look for the easy way out, or the quick end to things. But with this, it shows the step-by-step persistence where they can continue to follow the guides that's been given to them instead of trying to find shortcuts. They'll then know that being persistent, continuing to finish what I've started, will then land me not just any paycheck, but a possible career path that I've worked for through my high school years in order to get into. And so I'm not just a fish in a big lake, but then I've been seen not just by my teacher, but I've also been seen by an employer that, watch this, has a vacancy that he or she does not want to go through a whole lot of interviews, a whole lot of resumes, a whole lot of cold calling. But now the employer has a student that he has seen has the credentials and the qualifications, and with some training and skill, if you will, they then can become a great employee for that particular company, right? And so that's the need for the whole VitalBridge, is being able to bridge this gap from student to the career world, or to their career path, right? Um, and so then my question then becomes this, and we'll again put it in the chat. I just want to stay in safety where I am. How might belonging look in your pathway? And you may not be in career and technical education. You may be in a STEM class, a math class. You may be in regular cohort classes. But how does belonging actually look in your classroom? Or how does it look between what you're doing with your students right now? And I'll give you a moment to actually share that in the chat as well. So belonging is very imperative, especially when it comes to making sure that our students continue to stay connected during remote learning, that other things don't distract them or cause them to lag. Like I told you about the story of Maya, where she was definitely on track academically, to finish strong, to actually have her certification. As a matter of fact, she actually was qualifying for two certifications at that time, but because of the lack of involvement, if you will, or the human side of things, then she started to feel like it really wasn't necessary. It really, she really, it really wasn't worth it. Other things claimed her attention. She got sidetracked, and so that was the need to then start to figure out a way to start to show students what the end could possibly look like if they continue on, and to let them know that they're not just an individual, as I said before, in front of a black screen that, nobody sees and no one cares about. No, this is a community that you actually belong in. So Linda says that we do have a career unit at the university. Okay, I'm not sure if all students are even aware of the service they render. Wow. This current learning certainly isn't linked to future paychecks like you're demonstrating here. Understood. Um, is important. Yes, trying to think about how to do this in occupational leadership where learners are a part of a group already and often use it for cheating. Okay. So we encourage a lot more solo responsibility. Have to think about how to balance this. And again, as you know, with all things, students do, once they get together or begin to collaborate, they can, as we say, find ways to cut corners and do various things. So there are times when those solo responsibilities are necessary, when they are critical, when they are crucial, to make sure that we're able to see where they're mastering things and where they need help. But I think the feedback that we continue to give and the involvement that we continue to show them that we have, with what they're doing, and how we monitor what they're doing, monitor their progress, kind of helps to maybe alleviate some of the cheating, as you said, when those groups are actually together. And sometimes, even with I'm my area is media, so I'm in media arts, and audio visual technology, and so a lot of times I will put my students in groups, and then the assignment becomes a group presentation. So everybody has to participate as a group, to present whatever their information is, and I'm able to still grade them individually, even though it's a group project. Everybody has to involve themselves. Everyone has to actually say something, show a demonstration of learning, if you will, and that helps me to see individually, what this student knows versus what this student knows, or how much this individual has put in, how much work this individual has put in versus how much work another individual has put in. Michelle says, I like to show the students that I am human too, right? And by being open and honest with them, even just by sharing my screen, and then a cat walks across it. Absolutely. I have a pup right now, and he's raring to get on the he's raring to get on the camera. That's one of the reasons why I made sure that I kept him off. There are times when, yes, there are times when my animal has the tendency to want to be a student in the class as well, and he shows up. Um, and again, it kind of breaks the monotony, or it breaks up some things to, as you say, help the student to see that we're just as human as they are. We have different things that happen, in our life, just like they do, just like they do. And so that's definitely a true statement, I have to say. Yes, your Fink's butt is a well-known feature on your video conferences as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. It happens that way. It really does. But all learning is learning, all information. And so sometimes, that is showing up, if you will help me to kind of stay on track, or put me in a place where I can use an example, um, Okay, you guys are beating me out. I don't have a cat. I only have I have a Yorkie, a little dog. So he's a handful. Kindred spirits, right? Yes, I see. Excellent, excellent. So they definitely do the catwalk. So again, our major thing is tying in that belonging for our students to be able to feel like that they're seen, that they're heard, that again, for as you stated, that they know we live in a real world just like they live in a real world, and those simple little things like our furry friends showing up in class with us helps them to connect, with us. Various things, I sometimes I allow them, especially if it's a night class, to bring bring their lunch or bring their snacks along with them as we work through whatever lessons we have. And so that's a major thing. um Tasha, did you have your hand up? I'm sorry.
No, I just raised it. So thanks. Yeah, we have a something in South Africa called occupational qualifications, and I'm an instructional designer in that field, and
Mhm.
we create entire qualifications that people can complete in the workplace, which would be the idea of like an apprenticeship or internship, but they get a professional nationally recognized qualification at the end of that, and it's to allow people who could not enter traditional higher levels of education an opportunity to also reach higher levels on what we call our National Qualifications Framework, our NQF, where we see, PhD on level 10 and school leavers at level 4, that they can also go up this ladder, but in a different way. So in the occupational sense rather than academic, right? And
Yes.
a lot of that we have are learnerships where we take, unemployed youth. So companies offer unemployed youth the opportunity to come and work in a company where they receive a stipend, and they complete their studies at the same time. These generally tend to be, quite young. So there's a difference in what we see as upskilling and then reskilling, current employees. So we have both of those opportunities. But what we find is that the learners generally, when they do come together, is like you say, not to contribute in a positive sense. But
Sure.
I just I'm actually in the next 15 minutes I've actually got a retro of a course that I've just built online, and it was done more
Okay.
online than a previous course, and I'm about to give feedback on that. But one of the things I
Okay.
wanted to say, especially in light of this photos thing, which is quite an interesting thing, is that I put in quite a lot of discussion forums. Like you're saying, I thought, okay, well, even if it's self-study, right? But it's still a
Mhm.
synchronous based cohort, with a start and
Mhm.
end date, but they could participate in these discussion forums. So I posed these, like, for me, this is a part of learning design, intriguing questions that I thought, that would get them thinking about topics. And what the amazing thing was that out of this cohort of 26 learners, all 26 learners took that prompt and put it into an AI tool
Ah.
and posted
Wow.
the answer from the AI tool into those, even though it was ungraded. There was no grade associated with it, but
Sure.
they needed to
Sure.
complete it, for gating, so every
Sure.
activity gated and opened the next activity, so that I made
Mhm.
sure people were participating. But then they did that. So I don't know what I should do then with this belonging, because I like the idea. I do work hard at it, but then it doesn't work the way I planned for it to work. Does that make sense?
Well, absolutely, and I think and I've run into those same things as well. And what I have done in the past is I've brought that to the students' attention, right? So and I may crack a joke at the beginning and say, hey, I'm either a wonderful, wonderful teacher where I have gotten each one of you to actually think exactly alike, where you all have where you all have answered this exactly alike, or you're actually, using an AI tool that is only limiting what you could have actually said because, dare I say, you were either too cautious, too afraid, or too lazy to just, use your brain to, add conversation and, discussion to this. And so then I open up that discussion and say, explain to me what this answer is, or that you've put in, because clearly by now we all know that it's an AI answer. So explain to me, if you can, explain to me what it means, and then tell me more or less what your answer would have been outside of this AI entry that you've put. Because a lot of times I have seen that they just put the AI prompt or answer in there, and they don't even read it. They just copy it and they
No,
paste it,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like you didn't even take the decency to even read what you put in, so you can't even explain it. And so when I started to continue to raise that awareness to them that, hey, you know it's obvious that you guys are using AI. It's obvious that you guys are doing this, and then you don't know when I'm going to check, or what, or if we're going to have an open discussion about these things. That push them in the direction to start to put their own work, in, or take the time to actually, think about some of the things. Because what you're talking about with your occupational leadership is similar to our career and technical education,
Yeah.
in some shape, form, or fashion. And so I'm saying, if you're trying to build a career, here is the first thing. We call them soft skills. Here is the first thing that an employer wants, is to be able to know that they can trust you. If you are being dishonest just simply about an assignment that isn't even going to be graded, then how does the employer get to build that trust with you? How do I become a person that provides a reference or a recommendation for you, even in a job that I'm sure you're qualified for, but you ruin it with little things like this. So sometimes it takes me into having to really guide the conversation or the lesson in a direction of morals and ethics, and just truthfulness, because that's what's going to help you. um, you know any place you go, if you go to work at a car dealership, each car dealership is going to teach you his or her way of selling cars or whatever. They have their own style. What they want to be able to know is that you have the wherewithal to keep that customer coming back, to build a relationship with them. And that has to start with how you feel about yourself and how you feel about, the job and the workplace. And so if we provide this place of belonging, then it's not just us working from our end. You have to work from your end too. And as I said, building that trust as well. So it's this cohesion of this collaboration together, as opposed to just us, feeding everything to you, feeding everything to you. You have to do your part as well. And so yeah, I've had some of those things. And so when those situations occur, I take the time to stop and address them. And I lead in, like I said, with something maybe comical to say, I'm going to ask my boss for a raise because I have gotten to the point where I can get all of my students to think exactly alike.
Yeah.
And so then it's this, oh my God, Dr. Haynes, Miss Haynes has found out, we used AI. I did, this is easy for anyone to know, let's talk about this. And then when we start to talk about it, whatever that conversation was or that subject matter was, they give me more and more and more than the little AI prompt that they had. And I'm like,
I think
you
it's,
just you just
the one particular, yeah, the one particular activity was really asking their opinion on something. What do you
uh-huh.
think? How do you form first impressions, on things? And can you think of any examples where you've judged? So it was really like a personal your opinion. So for me,
Right.
I was just like, what motivated these learners? What was the thinking behind, I don't want to take the time to write my own opinion. I'd rather go
Exactly.
ask ChatGPT what my opinion is and copy and paste it in so that it has some form of it's
Right.
really difficult to try and link that to learning so that I can think about the change, and how to
Absolutely.
change it as a learning designer.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's the again, I think that becomes, like I said, that collaboration with, AI, yes, is a useful tool that we have, but we cannot, fail to remember the human side of it. And so if you,
Yeah.
cut a corner to use AI on something as simple as just giving me your opinion as, what are first impressions and things like that, then we're going to spend the time actually talking through that, because I still need you. This is for your benefit, and I still need you
Mm.
to see it this way. And then this becomes kind of a pat on the hand to say, I'm aware that you're using AI, and look at how much you've lost now. One would be my trust in you, because now you're probably going to feel that I'm skeptical of everything that you're going to put, for every other assignment. So it kind of, nudges, if you will, them in the direction to, hey, put forth an effort, to own your own work, whether it's right or wrong. And a lot of times it's not even a right or wrong. It's just you taking the time to do it. It's really well worth it, because then you expose yourself to this, ideology of that, or this idea that, no one can trust you. And if no one can trust you, then no one wants you around, So you have to kind of do some of those, mind coding and switching, if you will, to kind of teach that, through your occupational leadership. And I think
Thank
that
you,
will start to
Marilyn.
work some. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Yes. So we're gonna wrap up. I was, because of my technical issues earlier, I wanted to move as quickly as I could to make sure that I got everything in. But here is the roadmap that really seals everything for us: is that belonging definitely creates persistence for us, if you will. And then from that persistence, continuously doing what they need to do, then, leads them to the certification, and then the certification would definitely open the door for them to have careers. And when we design those type of environments for our students, where they feel like they matter, and they're able to stay connected, and they're able to certify and then step into various opportunities, then that puts them in a space of feeling again like they belong, and that they're persistent in what they're doing. Um, this is the time that I want to stop now and see if there are any questions, any comments, any ideas that you would like to share at this time with us about the presentation, about belonging, about persistence. I know you just listened to Ms. Tasha and I actually talk about, some belonging and how to deal with some of the AI issues that we run into with our students, if you will. But I want to open up the floor and just see what questions or ideas or reflections that you may have that you would like to share with the group, as well as with me.
Um, if I may, I was wondering about massification, because in online space, our drivers often to get the large classes and the numbers, in one of our programs, I think at the moment is around about 800 and something students in a module, which does make the whole notion of a sense of belonging hard, right? When you get sort of lost in the masses. I wonder if you can give us specific advice for lecturers who are scared that the moment the numbers get out of hand, that they might lose their touch.
Yes,
Creating
you
the
know,
sense
we
of belonging. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, and I think that's where some of the group collaboration actually comes in. And I know when you say it's, you know, it's 800, you know, individuals, if you will, that is definitely a lot. Um, so again, I think putting together, if you will, those various groups, taking the time to have those groups to collaborate with others for some type of demonstration, maybe of a subject matter that you may be that you may be learning. I'm sorry, I didn't even know my camera was off. I apologize. So it may be, you know, a subject matter that you're engaged in at the time, and maybe you have those groups, you know, a set of groups working together with with another set, if you will, to come up with, you know, share their ideas, because again, you know, when you get those objective thinking going, it starts to open your mind up, you know, to more, you know, more. Some of the things that students do a lot here are video presentations. Sometimes we link them together, and their group has to do some type of video presentation. They have to collaborate and come up with some type of a product, or, you know, an answer that would take several steps and phases and involve individuals such as that. And so again, most of the time we do those group dynamics, and not just the reflective stuff. So once they do the group dynamics, they're able to present maybe a couple of them, you know, then you have the remaining students to, you know, reflect or provide feedback from whatever that group has presented. So it brings in the group who's actually doing the presentation and that have worked together with other groups, and then it also brings in the reflections from, you know, the individual, the audience, the students who are in the audience, and maybe you pick out a few of those to, you know, to share across your lecture, if you will, or ask for some individual to elaborate, some student to elaborate on, you know, one of the reflections that they've placed in there. And, you know, of course, you can't reach all 800 even in that span, but it does for those that are listening that may not have audibly participated. It actually, you know, helps them to understand whatever the lesson is that that you're on, causes them to, you know, hear some more opposing sides, or, you know, different views about that, you know, and actually bring, you know, some level of understanding for them, and keep them connected as well.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
often wondering if
800 is a big stretch. 800 is a huge undertaking, I must
it's
say.
massive. But I always say large classes are easy to teach. All you do is you break them into little groups, and then you teach the little groups as you would teach normal groups. So, you know, but it's practically a little bit more complicated than that. And in that sense, we often have a number of tutors, of teaching assistants helping. And also then I think then staff development comes in. You'll need to put what's in your mind in the mind of each one of those assistants, so that they understand how important the sense of belonging and you know, the relational competencies are that they need to have and demonstrate.
Correct. No, absolutely. You know, sometimes when you have the the pairing or the buddying, if you will, you know, depending on who the two individuals are, I've found some positive feedback in that, in terms of keeping those one individual, keeping the other one accountable, you know, for responses, or, you know, sharing, you know, those kinds of things. So I try not to pair buddies together, because I know, you know, they're just gonna, you know, skate by, if you will. But actually having some individuals that would really do, you know, some dialogue and complete the assignment, and then bring some thought-provoking, you know, information to the forefront, that's, you know, worth sharing for the greater good. Yeah.
Let's see if there are more comments or questions from the group. If you have, you're welcome to put up your hand and then turn your mic on. If not, I have another question that I'd like us to explore. I'm wondering maybe it's, well, I suppose it's universal, but definitely in South Africa, the whole issue of identity and language and cultural background, plays a massive role. And I wonder if within the sense of belonging, whether there's something one's got to be cautious of or at least aware of when you try and create the sense of belonging.
Absolutely. And that is a major challenge, especially when you have numbers that are greater than you. So I'll use the same example that you were talking about in terms of 800. It's hard to know each individual's personality, their culture, their trait, those kinds of things, what they like, what they don't like, and so that can become, a huge challenge or barrier, if you will, when it comes to not just being in the class, but even online. If you have that amount of individuals, even in a lecture hall, it's hard to to really gauge who that individual is, or to meet their individual need, as well. And so the best you have is what they're really, what their assignments is that they're turning in, the ones that do turn it in. And so it just becomes to the point where I find myself just trying to learn them as much as I can, even sometimes outside of class, if I have the opportunity to do so. So it may be some type of assignment that I do provide to them, but then getting to know them outside of class, seeing them in other settings, kind of helps me to gauge, what type student this may be, what they're aspiring to be. And again, I know with the larger numbers, that's, a little bit difficult to do, but it would definitely be in your best interest, or our best interest, to try to see what other spaces that they find themselves in that we could connect with, with the subject matter that we're talking about, or the class that we're actually teaching, and providing just, more engaging discussions, or dialogue, or even having them to teach, so from that student teacher standpoint, putting them in a place to teach, and really picking their brains to actually perform some stuff, and some of those ways work, and some of them may not, because you do have students who are quiet, and they never talk, or but they give you their best work, and so the best that you're reaching them through is through the work. But I always say, I have an open door policy. Here is how you can connect with me. Try to set up different little groups that are universally cultural, if you will, so that everybody kind of feels that type of inclusion and has the opportunity to dialogue.
Well, if there aren't any further comments or questions, I think we can wrap things up, despite the rocky start. I thank you for your wonderful participation, everyone present here, but also for such an engaging session, and you truly got us thinking, Marilyn. Thanks. And it's important, I think, to remember how vital this sense of belonging is for our student success in the long run, and linking it to that future vision is such a smart move. So thank you for your warmth and your expertise. We appreciate it.
Thank you all so much, and you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. I think I'm going to bed now.
It's time, right?
Yes, indeed. Have a great session, and this has been amazing. This was my first time getting to present. I definitely look forward to being able to participate again. One of my professors actually recommended me, to submit an abstract, and I have learned so much. I was able to actually, engage in several of the other sessions on yesterday. So I think I'll stay up a little while and try to catch a couple and then and then lay down. But thank you all. It's a pleasure to present and to meet you all, and hopefully we'll get to collaborate a little bit more later. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Marilyn. Lovely to
Thank
have
you.
met you.
Likewise.